This is the Season Long Podcast in support of the YouTube channel SeasonLongBaller. Hope you had a wonderful weekend, and now we'll kick off another great week for you. We'll be playing the Utah Jazz just a little bit later on, but first, let's review what happened last week as we had 3 games, including back-to-back games in LA. So we started off with the Golden State Warriors, got a 51-42 victory last Tuesday, and then followed that up on Thursday and Friday against the Lakers, a 66-55 loss as LeBron dominated the second half as we took a loss to the Lakers, but then followed that up with a 66-53 victory over the LA Clippers, and again in LA. Taking a look at the standings right now, this is a playoff picture out east. Right now, the Wizards are the 1 seed, and right on our heels are the New York Knicks at the 2 slot. So the Wizards are pacing everything in the East, 47-13. The Knicks 3 games off the pace, and you see the Heat, the Sixers, the Pacers, the Bulls rounding out your top 6 with Cleveland and the Celtics and the Nets rounding out your top 9. Now out west, the Lakers are still leading by the slimmest of margins over the Warriors, and they are followed by the Clippers, the Mavericks, who were in that pole position for a long time out west. The Pelicans and Thunder round out your top 6, and then you have the Nuggets, Timberwolves, and Grizzlies as your top 9. Taking a quick look at your most valuable player voting, right now still our player build, number 4, 6'5" point guard out of William & Mary. Our player built Jaymont Summerz, and that build is in the description below. We built that player first on NBA 2K23. And did it again on NBA 2K24. Summerz is leading the MVP voting right now. He's leading the league in scoring, assists, and is in the top 15, I believe, in rebounding. So that is a lot of the basis there for him leading the MVP voting. And then for the Rookie of the Year, Victor Wembanyama is still leading in our simulation. And of course, as I've mentioned a few times, in the 3rd slot there is Chet Holmgren, who obviously in real life is in the competition for Rookie of the Year. But in our simulation last season, he finished 3rd behind our player build, Jaymont Summerz, and the actual winner, Paolo Banchero, who finished 2nd in our simulation because Holmgren did not get injured last season in our simulation, so he was eligible as a rookie. So technically in our league, this is his 2nd year. So that's pretty interesting. In a way, he could try to win Rookie of the Year twice, but it looks like at this rate, he'll finish 3rd twice of all things. 6th Man of the Year, Chris Paul is leading in that category. You also notice in 3rd there is Christian Wood, right behind Horton Tucker of the Jazz, who is 2nd. And Jordan Poole from the Wizards has snuck into the 5th slot. We'll see if that holds up. Poole has been shooting the ball a little bit better here lately. The key clutch player is right now Luka Doncic, and of course we know that up close and personal, as a couple weeks ago Doncic hit a game-winning 3 with 1.6 seconds to go to defeat us 82-79 in Dallas. And the possibility, Dallas ended up sweeping us this season, and the possibility of us playing Dallas again in the playoffs is pretty good, actually. Hope you like us doing our shoot around. We like doing these on our podcast. And now we'll take one more look here at another award race. Defensive Player of the Year, and that is Giannis Antetokounmpo right now. He is number 1 with Nicholas Claxton of the Nets in the number 2 slot, and Mitchell Robinson, who has been leading the league in blocks, he is number 3. Most Improved Player, Obi Toppin, who has been leading this category in our simulation pretty much all season long. Now, here's the thing next week. The big game is next Sunday against the Miami Heat. We have not defeated the Heat this season. We are 0-2 against our Southeast Division rivals, and let's take a closer look at both of those losses. Now, the first time we played the Heat, we played them in Miami on November 3rd. Took a 77-62 loss, and as you see, we only shot 38% from the field while Miami was shooting 48%. Only 9 out of 27 from deep. Miami was over 50% from deep, and that provided a lot of the difference in the game. Also of note, Clint Capella, who was acquired later, obviously was not in this game, and we still had our issues on the boards. Although we weren't slaughtered on the boards, we still had our issues, and we're out rebounding this game slightly, 33-30. But for the most part, this game was dominated by the Heat. However, we played them again on February 2nd at home, and pretty much a similar result. Again, 38% from the field, while Miami was 43%, so they didn't shoot as well themselves, but we didn't shoot any better at all. And you can make the argument we shot even worse from deep, going 8 out of 27. Only 4 free throws, while the Heat had 14 free throws. Now, Clint Capella is playing for the Heat in this game in an exchange, a trade with the Atlanta Hawks for Duncan Robinson. Really not sure why. I've mentioned that a few times. Not really sure why the Hawks would make that deal, since Capella kills us all the time and probably made the Hawks a lot weaker, especially when we play them. But in this particular game, we got killed on the glass, as you see, 43-31, and the Heat had 9 offensive rebounds. So if we want to try to get back in the season series, per se, with the Heat, then we are going to have to clean up the glass. Now, we did not have Alperen Şengün either in that game. And right now, we'll talk about it in a bit, Şengün is injured, so we'll see if he's able to return for that Miami Heat game at the end of the week. Right now, taking a closer look at the team stats, the Wizards are 47-13. Miami in that third slot, as we talked about earlier, is 40-19. Both teams 7-3 in their last 10. And here, Miami is 20-8 at home, while we are 25-7 on the road. And these stats, of course, since we are playing the games realistically here, 6-minute quarters, however, it does kind of skew some of the stats in terms of the points per game for us at 69.5, while you see Miami is at almost a slight more than a 10-point difference there in favor of the Wizards. But I do think that we will want to get the victory here. We don't want to lose the season series to the Heat, and there is a good chance that we could see the Heat again in the playoffs. Again, they are right now the number 3 seed. Taking a quick look at the injury report, did want to mention that, as you may recall, Steph Curry was injured in our game last week.
Curry's not happy. Let's see. Okay, I'm not sure that was the...
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how that ends up being the sprained right shoulder, but as you see, he is out 1 to 2 weeks because of that sprained right shoulder. Alperen Şengün, as we mentioned, strained right hip. He's out 1 to 2. He's been out for a while. Up here is saying he still is going to be out 1 to 2 weeks. Hopefully, we will get him back before we face the Miami Heat. We'll definitely need him against the Heat. Now, I know that's getting ahead of everything. That's the big game coming up on Friday. But for the week, later today, we'll be facing the Utah Jazz. And as you see, we're doing our shoot-around here in Salt Lake City against Salt Lake City on the Jazz's home floor for today. And then on Wednesday, we'll be facing our Southeast Division rivals, the Orlando Magic. On Friday, we face the Hornets. Again, both of those games at home. And then we travel to take on the Miami Heat. That's going to do it for this edition of the Season Long Podcast, number 50. That's right, we've got 50 of these knocked out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. For listening to these podcasts as we try to review things that are kind of going on around the Wizards and in our simulation during the season. So check us out later today against the Jazz. That's going to do it for this edition of the Season Long Podcast. Peace.